Hello and welcome to Portland Tea Party. Today, we are going to learn about the Oregon Legislature. What's a legislature? And what do they do? And how is it different in Oregon? And do they do anything? And are they accomplishing anything? And are the Republicans even showing up? We're going to talk to a professional, fabulous journalist that is coming to us from Salem to learn all about it. And we're here at Happylucky Creative Agency. They just said, hey, come do an episode here. And we said, okay. So that's how easy it is. If you have a cool venue, just let us know. Today on Portland Tea Party. It's February 9th. We're coming to you live from Southeast Portland, inner Southeast. Awesome area, lots of cool stuff going on, but you can't always see it from the street. So we're going to help you know what's up over here. I hope you tuned in. We did a live stream of PitchBlack on Wednesday. It was amazing. If you don't know about PitchBlack, watch our last episode. It gives you all the tea. PitchBlack is the event that gives away the most money on the entire West Coast to Black founders. And we had 10 people live pitching their business, their concept, and the audience got to vote. It was out at the Reeser Performing Arts Center in Beaverton, one of my favorite venues. I got to MC the event. It's founded by Stephen Green, and it was the best. I mean, it is community at its best. Everybody coming out to support. People from the startup community, the entrepreneurial community, the business community, and just people who are fans and want to support Black-owned businesses. So it is Black History Month, but don't limit your support of Black and Brown-owned businesses to this month. Of course, we are in business all year round, so please support us all year round. If you were able to make the event, thank you so much. And if not, we are going to try to get that video up online for you. So watch my LinkedIn, watch PitchBlack PDX on all the socials, and you will see the updates on that. And special congratulations to Knox, the founder of HOLLA School, who won about $30,000 for his business, which is helping kids have an education where they can see themselves reaching success. So special congratulations to you, Eric, and thank you so much for following your dream for the children. All right, our first guest, it's Portland time. Portland's part of Oregon, so we need to pay attention to what's happening at the state level. So let's welcome our special guest today. This is Julia Shumway. She's joining us via Zoom from Salem because she's a little busy. We're in a sprint Oregon legislative session. What does that even mean? Let's ask her. Welcome, Julia.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, I just found you the other day by looking up information on like, what is this thing that's even going on? And I found a great article from you in the Oregon Capital Chronicle, where you are the deputy editor and you're also the president of the Oregon Legislative Correspondents Association. So tell me more about your role at Oregon Capital Chronicle and what you cover.
So yeah, I'm the deputy editor over here. We're a small team in a nonprofit newsroom with about 4 people who pay attention to state government. And basically our job is to make state government understandable and accessible to people in Oregon. We know that most people have, day jobs. You don't have time to spend your 12 hours a day at the state capitol, so we try to do it for you.
I love that because that's what we're trying to do here, totally on mission, but we don't have 12 hours a day to spend at the Capitol. So let's just start with the basics. We all kind of remember from, history, social studies class in school that the government has 3 branches. There's executive, which would be like the governor at the state level. There is the judicial, which is like the courts. And then there's the legislative branch. So explain to us how the Oregon legislative branch is structured. Who's part of it?
So it's kind of like what you see at the federal level. We've got a Senate and we've got a House of Representatives. You've got 30 people in the Senate, 60 in the House. Every single person in Oregon has one state representative from their area and one senator from their area. So those are your representatives. You can, if you're not sure who you have, you can go on the legislative website, put in your address, find out who you're supposed to be bothering about bills. So we've got 90 people overall. There's Democrats hold the majority in both of these chambers, and they also, the governor, Tina Kotek, is a Democrat. So they have a little more power, but Republicans also have the ability to get their voices and their constituents' voices heard.
That's right. Now, speaking of Republicans, I do want to clarify that if people saw any news about the legislature in the last couple years, part of it, I think it was last spring, was a walkout, which Republicans, why did they walk out of the legislative session?
So the main reason they walked out was that they thought that their voices weren't being heard.
Okay.
And so they had Democrats passing bills they disagreed with. They didn't like that Democrats were doing that. And one of the things that the Oregon Constitution gives Republicans the power to do, or Democrats if they were in the minority, is to shut down the legislative session by walking out and denying a quorum. So they chose to do that for 6 weeks. I think
6 weeks? Wait,
yes.
So did they just not go to work for 6 weeks?
They would disagree with that. So they
Okay.
they went to committee hearings. They did some amount of work. They just didn't go onto the floor. And so they did some work in the legislature, but they didn't actually vote on any bills.
So yeah, my understanding is that bills that were supposed to be heard in the legislature last session did not get heard as a result. So less happened.
Yeah, that's true. So there's definitely there was a mad rush at the end of the last legislative session. You had a few days to try to pass, hundreds of bills a day and get them through. Some of those bills just didn't go anywhere. One of the big ones that we're seeing this session come back is something the governor wants to do around housing that has Republican support, has Democratic support. But just came up at the very last minute last year. People didn't have enough time to look at it, and now they're paying more attention to it this year.
If you don't mind editorializing for a second, and you can abstain, when did the session end last year? May?
June? It was in June.
June. Okay, so it's been, I can't count, but like 8 months since the last session, and a bill that could have been passed for like housing in June has to wait until now to maybe get passed. So are people losing the opportunity for housing in that much time? Like more people might not get housing as a result, or more things just are not in process?
I think that kind of depends on who you ask, right? Like I think there's people who think that particular measure or some of these other bills that didn't get passed last year wouldn't have passed anyway. There's also there's a lot of ideas in the legislature that take a few sessions. They come back. They don't quite have the votes. Like people hear about them for the first time, and then the people who are behind these bills keep pushing them. And a few years later, they manage to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish.
Okay. I love journalists because you have such a neutral and diplomatic take on things, and I really appreciate that because I have a lot of opinions. Can you zoom out for a second? Why should I care what's happening at the legislature?
So the biggest reason is that what's happening at the legislature affects your life, and it affects your life in ways you might not even recognize. The money that they spend goes to programs like housing, like police, like your district attorneys, all these people who have an impact on your life, on your neighborhood. Sometimes it can even be something as simple as like one of the laws we passed last year had to do with letting Oregonians pump their own gas and that kind of thing that requires the legislature to take an action. So whether you like pumping your own gas or not, that's something the legislature did.
And so if I care about these things, how do I find out what bills are even being considered?
So you'll want to go to the Oregon Legislature's website, and specifically a section on it called OLIS, that's OLIS, the Oregon Legislative Information System, and it'll show you every bill that's coming up for a hearing, either a committee hearing or coming up for a vote on the floor. And when you're looking at that, when you see bills that are going to have hearings soon, you can use that website to submit a written testimony or see directions for how to either join a Zoom call or drive down to Salem and in person and speak to lawmakers. And you can also always email or call the people representing you.
Yeah, and Oregon's a small state relatively, and so our districts are small. So I would say it's relatively easy to get your voice heard with your representative. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think some of it also depends on representatives. Some are more accessible than others, but for the most part, they try to respond to emails. Many of them will hold in-person events, so you can also sign up for their mailing lists, get their newsletters, and get information if, say, there's a lawmaker holding a coffee at a coffee shop near you to talk to constituents.
So what I read was that there's a big session, a long session every other year. So explain what this session is, because we're not on one of those years. We're on a short session year, which was added, right? A sprint session?
Right. Yes, this is the short session every odd year. So last year we had a session that lasted up to 160 days. They've got about 6 months basically to pass all their legislation. And then we've got a 35-day session this year. So it started February 5th. By March 10th, everything needs to be done. Everyone needs to go home and come back next January. And the idea when Oregonians decided they wanted to have short sessions was that they would focus on the most important issues, either if there's like a pressing law that needed to be passed or budget issues that needed to be dealt with that couldn't wait another year. They'd do it in these even year short sessions. We've seen it grow to the point where there have been at least 300 bills introduced this year, and they want to, figure out some way to handle 300 bills over the course of about a month, which is not quite possible. And I think you've seen some appetite among some people in Salem to maybe either scale back what they're trying to do or add a few more days to this session.
Oh, wow. So how do they decide which bills do get heard? Is it numerical order, or people are advocating for certain ones?
It depends on who's advocating for it. And so essentially, the bills that the governor really wants are going to get heard. Bills that leaders in the House and Senate really want are going to get heard. Bills that they know are popular among people in the building, that they probably have the votes to pass, are more likely to get heard than some bills that everyone knows are not popular.
Okay. So if I want to influence what's going on, I can email or call up my representative, right?
Yes.
And then if I just want to follow this, for me, this is my sports, but what are the best ways to follow this other than, of course, going to Oregon Capital Chronicle and following your coverage?
Yeah, I'd always talk up both the Oregon Capital Chronicle and other local news outlets because we've got people down here. You can also follow along on social media I believe we're calling Twitter X now, but on Twitter.
I'm not. It's okay.
You'll see lawmakers posting there. You can also sign up for their newsletters. You can and tune in. And if you really want to watch a committee hearing yourself, you can either go to Salem or you can pull up a video from home and watch video of people arguing about politics in the legislature.
It's really quite interesting. And there's some characters. Sometimes reality is more entertaining than art. So I would say those videos are not as boring as they sound.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on Portland Tea Party. And I hope you'll come back again.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend and good luck covering this session.
Thanks. You too.
All right. When we are back, we're going to talk to one of the co-owners of Happylucky about the state of small business in Portland. time, hot drinks and hot gossip. I am here at Happylucky Creative Studio with our very special guest, Emily Stutzman, co-owner and CEO, right? Cheers. Thank you so much for inviting us and hosting us at your gorgeous space. Are these all your books?
Thanks for liking it. The books, some of them came with it, with the sale when we bought it from the owner, Tony. She is an avid collector. But all the art was crowdsourced. We asked employees to bring in a piece of art that meant something to them, and we made a gallery wall out of it.
I love that idea. Tell us about Happylucky. What kind of work do you do, and did it start here in Portland?
Yeah, Happylucky is a queer-owned advertising agency, and we do work for global brands like Adidas or Chewy or Purple, and recently the state of Washington, which was really cool. And the state of Oregon. We do all kinds of media creation, content, video. We do activations and events. We do brand identity, that type of thing. And it was started in Portland in 2004 by a woman named Tony Smith. She used to work at Adidas. She was kind of a skateboarding punk rebel type person, and so she went freelance, and then people kept calling her for jobs, so she begrudgingly started a company, and it grew, and in 2019 she asked if myself and my business partner Ben were interested in taking the reins, because she wanted to retire by the time she was 60. So we started that transition, then the pandemic came, and so we kind of accelerated it. She said that was the last crisis she wanted to go through as a business owner, so she got out at that time, and we took over in 2021. And so we're based here in Portland, but we have an office in New York and an office in LA, and we do work all over the country and the world.
And I do want to call out your amazing Oregon voting civic engagement campaign and videos. We'll have to post a link, but I thought that was really good.
Thank you. Yeah, just trying to save democracy one project at a time.
Just a little. We are all trying to do that right now. So you said that this is queer owned. Why does that matter?
Well, one of the things we say about it is queer people are oftentimes at the forefront of shifting culture. Just like many marginalized groups, we've had to fight to have our voice heard, and so we've been able to help lead the charge and create the change that culture is needing. And we believe, especially with our jobs as marketers, we have an amazing voice and a power to change how people think if we use our voice right, just like the video for Oregon. And so, having always led the charge on that, we feel that it gives us the opportunity to truly shift culture in a positive direction with the work we're doing because of our history.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of missing spots or blind spots with traditional agencies. And I will say a pet peeve of mine is whenever I see somebody from the dominant culture, all the check boxes of the dominant culture, do something like give a TED Talk. They cite all their influences as other like white straight males. And I'm like, wait a second, it's 2024. Your influences, like how can you only have influences from like one very narrow demographic? And part of it, of course, is that we may not have known about all the brilliant minds in history, but I will say you also gave a lovely TED Talk, which we will also link, that was like very inspiring. And I was like, oh my God, community. But, as somebody who had a marketing agency before my current company and as a person of color, it was not like a new thing to me to have like diversity in our imagery, for example. And so are there any campaigns where specifically it really served the client to have a queer-owned agency?
I mean, a really easy answer to that is working on pride campaigns for Adidas. Having people working on pride who truly understand it and are connected within the queer culture, I think it helped tell a more genuine story. And both instances where we did pride campaigns, we looked to our own networks of folks to bring them into the campaign. One of my favorite people that we worked with on the last pride campaign we did was Flawless Shade. I don't know if you know her. She's a drag queen here in Portland, and she's sort of famous now. And we loved being able to tap into the people that we knew and give them a voice and a platform.
That brings a lot of authenticity to it.
Yeah.
So your business has been affected by the pandemic and some of the fallout of all the things that have happened in the last few years. Will you tell us a little bit about what it's been like to run a small business?
It's been very hard. The pandemic was hard for many reasons. As you know, we did a lot of events and activations, and so it was a lot of in real life stuff. We did work in retail, and even photo shoots and content capture changed because we weren't going places in rooms together with, so all of the way that we work changed. And so during the pandemic, we had to really think about what we could do to meet the needs of our clients in a creative way that they could still pursue the campaigns they needed to and tell their messages, but within the safety of the COVID regulation. So we pivoted a lot during the pandemic, and we even thought of really scrappy ways to pay the bills. Like we rented the downstairs space to Lululemon. They were developing footwear at the time, and so they had a footwear lab down there. And we started doing all this shipping and receiving for Adidas because they couldn't operate on Swan Island. So we were just like, yeah, we'll do that for you and ship to your influencers. And then in 2021 and 2022, work picked back up, and we had the chance to do some really amazing work with many new brands because part of what happened during the pandemic is we had a chance to think about who do we really want to work with and what type of work do we want to do. And so we started to diversify who we worked with. And then we did a huge project with Adidas that was called Honoring Black Excellence. And it was all about empowering community architects and people who were in the community, in different communities all over the country to, again, like have a voice. And one of the people I worked with and got to travel to Germany with was, her name is Miss Swanda, and she's Ahmaud Arbery's mother, and Adidas invested in helping her tell her story and get a business set up to honor him, which was very special.
I can't imagine even meeting her.
She's one of the most important people I've met in my career. And, we've met many celebrities and all the things because of the nature of our job, but meeting her was personally one of the most impactful encounters of my life. So we rode bikes around the campus in Germany at Adidas, and we got to go to this special vault that had all these old Adidas products that were like from the archives and the history. And, her being there was very historic, and it was just really special to spend that time with her. I think you asked me something and I got distracted. Oh yeah. So doing business as a small company has been a total challenge. And in the last year, one of our biggest clients suffered a business loss. And so as a result, we also suffered a business loss. And so as an agency, we laid off 50 people. And so we were about 70 last January, and now we're down to in the mid-20s. And it was a tragedy, because all of these people that we had gathered together who shared our mission and values and were building this thing with us, we had to professionally part ways with, and that felt horrific as a business owner and somebody who cares deeply about the community that we're building. So it was really hard, and we've tried to help each of them in their journey beyond here however we can, but it's been personally very tragic.
Yeah, and I want people to notice the authenticity in the words that you're using right now, because I've been laid off, and that was before I ever owned a business or was a boss. And, I was really upset about it, and it's upsetting, and it's scary. But I think it's not a heartless decision. It's a very difficult decision for the business owner or the boss, and you try to solve it every other way you possibly can before you come to that decision. It's not personal when there's a layoff. Mm-hmm. And, if you're facing that, it can end up being, for me, it ended up being a gift, because it gave me my new career and my new business. But, again, not personal, and a really hard decision for everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah, there were a lot of tears shed in the process. And I wish that it could have been different. But with the layoff, like you mentioned, it can be a catalyst for something new for people. And I've seen some people really take this opportunity, and I've seen them grow and shine, and I'm really proud of them. But it's also been an opportunity for us to refocus as a business and think about, who are we now? We're this small size. We're not who we were. We don't have the same presence. But what does it mean to be at this size, and how can we really embrace the core of who we are find that special power that we have and share it with other people.
So what are the pros and cons of being based in Portland?
Pros, it's really cool here.
Yeah. And talent, like cool talent.
Yeah, I mean, this is a super rich city of talent, creative talent.
Yes.
I mean, with there being so many global brands headquartered here, there's a lot of good talent. Yeah, so that's great. I mean, I also think from an inspiration standpoint that this is a nice place to be. I find a lot of inspiration in nature, and I know that Ben does too, and it's really accessible here. And so we try to make sure that we have time to experience that and be refreshed, and that our employees do too. So that's the pros. The cons are that, you know, it is a very homogenous city in some ways, and so finding more diverse talent has been challenging. And it's also, because it's so footwear focused in this city, it has been harder too to find people who have worked outside of that industry and might understand different things. But with many creatives, they're super flexible and they figure it out. We all figure it out. But I think that's some of the cons. And then just like from a business perspective, I was telling you a little bit earlier, we have a building that we've been trying to make operational, and you know, the permitting process and you know, that's been really challenging. And I know that Portland says they're the city that works, and I want to believe that. But I also would love for them to be welcoming opportunities for new business here and helping to make the process a little smoother for folks.
Absolutely. Anecdotal, but I've never heard a business person say that Portland is a great business city.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I
Yeah.
know that it's getting there. There's so much new industry here, so I see the shift, and there's a lot of people that are thinking about how to make it better, but it's still like really sticky and hard to get through.
Yeah.
the system.
Well, and when, you know, we pay extra taxes to operate businesses in the city of Portland, and as service business owners, like, we could feasibly like run our businesses from Beaverton or Clackamas County or even across the river in Washington State, which a lot of businesses move.
Yeah.
And I think that Portland needs to be way more proactive in keeping people here and attracting people, even if it's like a temporary incentive. I think it needs to be better than like a rent tax abatement if you come back downtown. Like, that's just so narrow and so specific. I think there could be like I have ideas, but
Like what? I'd love to hear 'em.
Well, you know, like I just want people's actions to match what they say. So if you say you have values like supporting small business, supporting women-owned, queer-owned, people of color-owned businesses, then give us the shot. You know, maybe instead of having the, I think, 4.6% extra tax that we pay for Multnomah County and the city of Portland combined, make steps up as we're getting beyond the emerging small business level, right? So, you know, or some I mean, there's all this commercial real estate just sitting empty.
Yeah.
Make it easier for places to be operational so you can recover your investment. You're not in the hole on these buildings and have to sell them again. And they're all just sitting empty. Like, the city should pay to just like put businesses down. Like, people will come downtown if they see people in the storefronts.
Oh yeah.
So I just think there's a lot more that could be done as a long-term investment that would eventually recover the city's investment in these things.
I am kind of impressed what's going on in Old Town. My friends just bought or started renting a building there, and they're opening a magazine store that also has specialty waters. So waters from all the world. They're going to do water tastings, I guess. It's going to be called Chess Club. And
That's very Portlandia.
yeah, it's very Portland. So they're opening down there in the city, and Peabody, I guess maybe it was, or Portland Prosper, I can't remember, or Prosper Portland, gave them a really big grant to revitalize the space and help set them up for success. And I thought that was cool.
I have a few friends who've gotten grants from Prosper Portland to help with their spaces, so I appreciate
That's cool.
that.
Yeah, the PIP grant.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grants out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to find, Portland. Websites. Maybe you could do a campaign.
Maybe I could do a campaign. I could
know.
show everybody where to.
We can help.
Yeah, okay.
We're here to help.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now, 2024, a lot going on, and for you personally, for the city, what is your hope for the immediate future of Portland?
I just think Portland is a city with so much potential. I mean, the food here is amazing. The all the places you can have beverages between tea, coffee, beer, cocktails. The obviously the landscape and the access to outdoors is amazing. So I really believe in Portland, and so for 2024, I'd love to see people come here and visit, and it just become a place that is treasured by the residents and also by people who are travelers. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. And even in this district, in the Central East Side, it's very special. But there's a lot of work to do to make people feel comfortable, safe, and welcome here. And I would love to see that happen.
We're definitely going to talk about that more on this show. Thank you so much for your time and for welcoming us into your gorgeous space. How can people follow what you're doing, both personally and with Happylucky?
Yeah, well, first of all, come back anytime. We have lots of really cool spaces here to film. You can follow us on Happylucky PDX on Instagram, or we're on LinkedIn, Happylucky, or you can follow me personally on Instagram if you are interested. I'm Emily Joy Stutzman, and you can find me there. There's lots of cat photos.
Everyone loves a cat photo.
Everyone loves a cat photo.
What could go together better than the internet and cats?
It's the most perfect pairing.
It's the perfect pairing. Okay, with that, thank you, Emily. And when we are back, of course, your top 3 parties for the next week. It's party time. Get out and about this week. You know you want to. There are some amazing events happening this week, and I'm going to tell you about just 3 of them. You can always find more events online. I love looking at Willamette Week site. I love looking at the Mercury. I love looking at Travel Portland. They all have amazing events for you. But here are my top 3. First of all, the Native American Youth and Family Center is having a Snaggentines pop-up. So this is indigenous made products you can go buy, shop. That's tomorrow from 11 to 6 in Northeast Portland. I'm definitely going, so say hi if you see me there. We also have a Kenton wine walk tonight. So if you're in North Portland and you'd like to sample some wines, check that out. It's a fundraiser for the Kenton Business Association, and we will drop the link for signing up in our show notes. Love that, supporting local neighborhoods, and of course, getting a little party time with your wine tasting. And tonight also, if you are downtown, Alana Glazer, comedian extraordinaire, is live 2 shows, second show added, at the Newmark Theater. There are still tickets available. And I have a little tea on Alana. First of all, you might know her from Broad City, the best show. I think I need to rewatch that. And I also think Alana would make a great Portlander. So when I switched careers in my mid-20s, I went to a career coaching firm for artists. I was their director of marketing. And we helped artists create a business plan for their career and encouraged them to make their own work and really pave their own way in the industry. And Alana Glazer was one of the clients. So I wasn't there while she was there, but I have seen her testimonial for that work. So I think that's Really, really cool. Shout out to Capes Coaching out of New York. They have great classes and resources for artists to create their own career. And Alana is an alum. So there's a little tea for you. Thank you for joining us today on Portland Tea Party. You know, I was thinking a little bit more this week about why we're doing this. And it's really about if you want to change the game, you need to know how the game is played, right? And so tune in here. We're going to keep explaining the game to you, telling you how you can affect it, change it, follow it. And as you know, you can't complain if you're not willing to do anything. Portland Tea Party. See you next week.